Hey, it's the Everything Guide to Sports Betting here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, and we're going back to the basics. We need to start anew. This is the perfect time to do it. I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Vegas. Josh Appelbaum, of course, and we are being inundated, overwhelmed with your emails and your questions. Okay, remember, Josh at VSiN.com, at VSiN Live on social. But again, we knew this is what you needed because we are getting completely overwhelmed. VSiN.com with, okay, I understand Mitch and Paulie are sharp, Gill sharp, but what the heck is happening with the total or the over under? And what's a point spread? And what's a money line? And we're going to explain that to you here on the Everything Guide to Sports Betting. The author of the Everything Guide to Sports Betting is Josh Appelbaum. Okay, so here's a question we just got in at Josh at VSiN.com. What should I take into account when betting the money line? Do I just have to win the game straight up?
Exactly right. Yeah, money line is just winning the game straight up. Also, straight up is kind of referred to sometimes as SU. So if you've ever seen an SU, that's just straight up. When you're talking about spread betting, a lot of times you'll see ATS. That's against the spread. So yeah, a money line is just win the game straight up. It can be in regulation. It can be in overtime. The margin of victory does not matter. The only thing with the money line that you care about is winning the game. Doesn't matter how they win or the margin, just that you win the game straight up.
Okay, follow up on the same question. This is a tremendous question. When should I bet the money line? What sports are popular to bet ML, which is, of course, money line?
Yeah, so the most popular sports to bet the money line would be baseball and hockey. And you got to kind of take a step back and say, okay, why don't I bet the spread more often in baseball or hockey? In baseball, the spread, there is a spread. It's usually -1.5 the favorite, +1.5 the dog. It's referred to as the run line or RL typically. In hockey, same thing, favorite -1.5, dog +1.5. That's considered the puck line, the PL. But basically, the money line, you're looking at sports like baseball and hockey because the margin of victory is oftentimes one run or one goal. So it doesn't make as much sense to bet on who's going to cover a number, a spread, win by two or more. The thing with spread betting is that you do get better prices if you bet a favorite to win by more than one run, to win -1.5. You'll get a better number price to pay. On a dog, you'll get basically a worse number, but you're also getting a run. So there's that risk reward overall. But typically, baseball, hockey, those are your money line sports. Just winning the game straight up. That's what you really got to lean on overall. Baseball, hockey.
Okay, so let's take a look. We know what the point spread is. We know what the money line is. Let's take a look at the short spread slash money line conundrum a bettor is going to find themselves in. And to do this, to illustrate this, I'll use the Ravens and Eagles that we were using before. As opposed to the Ravens laying 3, which is a very common number, they're now laying 1 at Philadelphia. That's the conundrum. A short number or a money line? Explain what we mean there, Josh.
Yeah, so I think the distinguishing aspect there is -3. You're gonna lay if you could, every odd will be converted to a money line. So whatever spread number is, there'll be a money line as well. So if it's at 3, you're paying kind of a high money line price. You probably wouldn't want a money line it there. But when it's all the way down to 1, then there's a different situation where your money line is going to be much cheaper overall. You're going to get closer to -120, -130, which in other words is just paying kind of a higher juice overall. So the case can be made. A lot of bettors will disagree on this, whether you should lay the -1 or get the money line. But I look at it as, you're getting a better price overall to win the game. And the one thing you got to look at is if you bet a team -1 and they win the game by 1, push your bet. Then you get your money back. Win anything, you lose anything. But if they win by 1, bet the money line, even to pay, -120, -130 on the juice, you would win. You would cash that bet. You would win that bet. The and it's a
Okay,
really,
let's
really
go
short.
ahead and pull Josh down for a second. We'll get him reset there here on the Everything Guide to Sports Betting. These are great questions coming in. It's Josh at VSiN.com. This is a conundrum. I've heard Matt Humans and Gill argue about this in the past. It is such a conundrum, and it really comes down to personal preference. If you're laying 1, obviously you're expecting if you're going to win a football game, you're going to win by more than 1. But you take a look at some of the charts, and of course, the number's going to fall 1 at times. The question is, do you want to pay a little extra up front to ensure? So understand, you can lay 1, lay less of a tax, pay less of a tax. If you're going to lay the money line, let's say it's, the Ravens in that scenario, laying 1 and the juice is 110. You bet $100, you're going to win back 90. Let's say instead you want to go the Ravens in that situation minus 135. Okay. You're clearing that hurdle of having to cover 1 point, but you're laying more of a tax. So $135 to win 100 in that scenario. Josh, I was just laying out the conundrum there, right? You have to lay a little bit more, but you're also ensuring yourself there that you're going to cover that 1 point as a favorite.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Patrick. It's personal preference. You can debate all day long till the cows come home, and different bettors will have different opinions overall. And I think there are cases to be made for both sides. But again, are you willing to pay a little more, knowing that okay, they just have to win the game, and if it lands on one, I would push. Or are you willing to take more of a chance, but maybe get a better or worse number overall? So I think in future episodes we'll talk about line movement because in this scenario here, that goes from 3 down to 1, you would, on the one hand, you could say, okay, I'm getting the Ravens at a better number, but you also got to think if the Eagles went from +3 down to +1, they probably took in a lot of sharp action on the Eagles, in which case maybe that is the sharp side overall. So the conundrum here is personal preference. Do you want to pay more but get a better number? Pay less but get a worse number, but also really focus on the money line versus spread decision when it's a really, really short number. The other thing is like if a game is a pick 'em, if this line dropped to 0, that would be considered a pick 'em price. A lot of times you'll see a slightly different number on a pick 'em on a spread than on the money line. So maybe one's minus 105 and maybe one's minus 107. It's these little things you got to look at. I think we don't want to get too much into the weeds here. Just know that there are different betting options, and
That's it.
depending on your personal preference, it's your decision to make.
You could have the sharpest bettors. You could line 10 up. 5, as far as the short spread money line conundrum, might go one way and say lay the 1. The other 5 might say I'm not taking a risk. I'm going to go ahead and lay the money line. Understand this is nuance. There aren't hardened principles when it comes to some that can be up in the air, like the short spread money line conundrum. Question. We just have 45 seconds. Here's a question, Josh at VSiN. What does even money mean?
So even money is basically a pick 'em, a tie. It's kind of basically the teams are so even and they're equal, and there's no distinguishable favorite or underdog. So in spread that will be a pick 'em, but even money on the money line, everything starts at minus 100 / plus 100, and then basically you're going to branch out from there. So the more of a favorite you become, you'll go from minus 100 to minus 120, minus 150, minus 200. The other way, plus 100, plus 150, plus 200.
Great job, Josh. It's the Everything Guide to Sports Betting. We continue Betting 101 right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. More of your questions coming up next right here on the Everything Guide to Sports Betting.